I always love to go into these, and I was with my German friends, and we were having a good time. Now, near Niagara Falls, they have a lot of tourist traps. This place is not here anymore. And for good reason. Now, over here, if I can say hello, 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 knock, this is a door. And then there's the rest of the room. It's a little smaller than I made it, but anyway, here we are. So we decided, well, okay, Zenjen, I know other creators have watched other movies together, but I'm monetized and I'm not going to get a copyright strike because they take your money, and this is my job. And based on that, my darlings, I will put up this little thing here because you know I am a grifting psychic. I am your favorite grifting psychic, so don't forget me. Okay. Near Niagara Falls, wait, hold on. Somebody is trying to. There we go. Near Niagara Falls, they had a huge wax museum. And those are the days, and I know you're all commenting, but I'm going to tell you, I love watching your comments, and I get so distracted. I'm not going to get, because I love talking to you, and pardon me, and I'm not going to be able to talk. And thank you so much, Nate, my darling. Okay. So we're just getting started on the story. Remember this room. So there was a wax museum, and this place was huge. I don't know how they could have, I mean, it was spread out. It was huge. I just don't even know how did they get so many wax figures in there? But they did. So the people that I were with kind of chickened out because the place was kind of, you see how like little dingy, a little sus. You know, it's one of those things that you go in and you just don't know if you're going to come out with both kidneys, right? You just don't know. And so I thought, okay, I'm going in, I'm game. So this other fellow by the name of Herb, German fellow, he and I went in. So it was all nice. It was nice and beautiful. And it was, different historic scenes, different things. And it was, and I thought, oh, this is pretty mild, right? Pretty mild. And the next thing you know, starts getting a little darker. Starts getting into the crime, Jack the Ripper type stuff. Now, that's older. That's what that's whatever. It works. Jack the Ripper, all these things. Then it starts getting a little darker, like local crime, like things that, pardon me, things that you wouldn't want to put in a wax museum. Sus things. It was a little on the disgusting side. Then as we morphed into this, and there were other people in there, we weren't the only ones, but as we morphed into this wax museum, the next thing you know, it kind of separates, gives you an option to go one way or another, like you're taking the scenic route and you're supposed to all end up at the same place. Well, of course, I wanted to take the scenic route. So did Herbie. So we're walking through. The other people went on. As we entered into the other direction, there's a sign. enter at your own risk. And I'm thinking, oh boy, they're setting us up for a good one, like every haunted place, you know. And I'm thinking, oh boy. As we're going through, they had a fog machine. And little bits and pieces of fog coming in and just moseying through, getting more intense, getting more and more intense, thicker. Next thing you know, it's getting a little tough to see. And you know those dry ice machines, those fog machines, you can imagine, because you hear me now, I was struggling with the breathing stuff. I was struggling with that. So we're going through there. I'm clearing my throat every 10 seconds. And I'm thinking, I want to just blaze through here, dust right through. But they made it so that you had to walk through scenes. As in, like, you would walk through scary stuff. And it started morphing into the horror, HORROR, the horror, haunting, paranormal. You didn't have a choice. You couldn't go around it. You had to go through it. And I thought, oh, here we go. I'm going to have a jump scare. And I wasn't very happy about this. Well, Herbie said, I'll go ahead and go front. And I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. He goes, I'll warn you if there's anything. I'll go ahead and go forward with you or in front of you. Thank you. Gentlemanly. That's fine. So it wasn't supposed to be a haunted house. It was literally supposed to be a wax museum, but it had props. Of course, they were all glued and nailed down. No, you know, you couldn't do anything with them. But now the fog starts to clear. And if you see a little window like this, you had to look pretty hard. But you could see somebody standing behind a curtain on the other side. Now that kind of stuff gets to me. Okay? He didn't leave me. No. It starts getting to me because I'm thinking, who, what, you know. I watched that, what was that, Vincent Price about the wax museum or something. No. So we're going through and it just keeps getting worse. Hi, my darling Candy. It just keeps getting worse and more intense. And you know, the colors, because you know, you can set a mood with colors, with certain smells, with certain, so I'm just kind of feeling not well because I'm thinking this is so sus, it just does not feel good. So we're walking through, and all of a sudden, Herbie is in front of me. We come to this room right here through this door. All of a sudden, Herbie goes out the door on this side, and it closes behind him. And I can't get out. And I am sitting here thinking, and I'm yelling, knocking on the door. Well, you could hear a little bit, but the door was solid. So I go over to this window, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm no fool. I'll climb out that bloody window. If I can scale up a side of a hill with a zombie in the graveyard, this window ain't nothing, right? So I couldn't, it was just like a false window. But you could see when you went up to it, you could see that there was a little door that somebody could stand in there. And I'm thinking, oh, heck no. I'm a sitting target. The door's locked, and I thought, okay, I'll go back out another way. So I went back out this door. And you can imagine going through. It felt like I was going backwards. Now, I'm hoping that this was all a part of it and that Herbie went on and maybe got a worker and said, look, Zell is stuck somewhere and we need to go get her. So I go out this door. And there was another door. And you know what it takes me? It takes me to this window, only I'm on the outside looking in. And it was very confusing because they had this fog machine and they would start it, and then they started having this music, and I was totally disoriented. And I'm going to tell you, I do not like that at all. Nobody does. So I work my way back, find this door, and I come back in. I want you to know this, and it is so weird, that when I came back in, I saw someone else standing, and it was a reflection of me. Now, it was different. It was like I was standing there on the outside looking in. So whatever they did, they were able to capture me on some type of device and then have me looking in at me. And I'm going to tell you what, wiping out the back of my pants wasn't an option at that moment, but I sure felt like it. So I thought, oh, heck no. So I'm looking around because I'm thinking, I need something. I need, maybe there's a flashlight, maybe there's a real candle, maybe there's a hammer that I can take with me because hello. And I'm thinking, what is this? Creepy as can be. I'm not kidding. Seriously sick for somebody to do that kind of thing. So I couldn't find anything. Everything is nailed down. Drawers are nailed shut. Table, everything. I mean, even the tablecloth is glued on the top of here, so nobody can take anything. You just sit in there and you feel like a sitting duck. I go back out this door. I remembered where I went the last time, so I went the opposite way. I was going wrong way, and I thought, well, maybe I'll bump into some people that are here too, and then we can go through this together, and at least I can say, look, if you go through that door, if you open up that door, hold it and allow the rest of us to get out, right? I mean, that was me trying to think logically through this. So I'm walking through, trying to be careful and not make a sound because I don't, I thought I'm not going to let anyone, I'm trying to walk in the shadow part because they had these overhead lights, like lamps that were way high up and like very dimly shining down and lighting the way. So your eyes had to adjust to all this dimness. So I stayed out of that. I went to the side. I stayed out of that. I thought, I'm not going to let anybody know that I'm coming back through. I come back up through this, where they had these piratey type something display, piratey type display. So I'm standing there And I thought, okay, I'm just going to stand here in the corner. I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to let my eyes acclimate. And, because the one thing you don't want to do is close your eyes and then hope that your eyes acclimate, because it kind of gets worse. I'm standing there and I feel and I thought, okay, I'm not even going to look. I'm not even going to give whatever it is the time of day. So I'm hearing all this, and then on this side, my hair. So I turn around quickly because I'm thinking somebody's got to stand. Nothing. Nothing was there. Nothing. I turn around and I look dead at this wax figure, which I thought was a wax figure, who had this little sword standing there. So I'm looking around thinking maybe I can find somebody. Oh no, I looked at him, and what does he do? He's standing there with his little sword. What does he do? He's standing there looking like this, and he turns right around and looks at me, and he takes this sword. I'm telling you, I cut and run. I didn't care. I cut and run because I'm thinking, because here's the thing. The people in this world scare me more than the ghosts and the goblins and the paranormal. And I ran until I could not. I wasn't flat out running a race, but I was like scooting through, believe me, and had no phone. And it wouldn't have worked in this joint anyway, I'm pretty sure, because it was like very intense on the inside with lots of building materials and bricks. And, you could see behind the scenes, there was a lot of things going on. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, right, Captain? Back now I would be like cutting. I would have a new definition of cutting and running these days. Back then, I was in a little bit better shape. So I get back to this place, and I'm trying not to panic, because one thing you can do, my darlings, no matter what, if you can control your breath, you can control anxiety and panic. If you ever want to throw yourself into a panic attack, start breathing shallow and hard. And guess what's going to happen? Your body is going to react. And that's one thing I didn't want to do. So I'm like, okay, stay calm, Zell, stay calm. And I kept trying to think, where the heck is everybody else? Where are all the people? What's going on? Where are all the people? So I come back through, and I'm winding my way through, and I end up behind the scenes. That's how dark and crazy. I ended up behind some of these scene things, and I thought, I've got just got to stand here and wait until I see more people. I bet I was there in an hour. And I kept thinking, what if they close and I'm in here? What if they what if they close? What happens? What happens to me? Do they turn the lights on? Do they have an announcement? Do they say, well, we're closing now? You know, some places, well, we're closing now, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, my darling. Let me put a star here, there, Mama Bear. I know I was in there an hour and a half. And I thought, I've got to just wait and stay. So then I start hearing voices. And I thought, okay, maybe this is somebody coming through. Now, I'm going to tell you what, this wasn't a place like Ripley's that's run more professionally. This looked like a place that, I can say it, that somebody would grab you and put you in a van and never see you again. That's what bothered me. That's what I was scared of. And then I started thinking these crazy thoughts. Maybe if I bang on something, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that. And I'm thinking, no, the only person that's going to get hurt is me. So then I decided, because nobody was coming, then I decided, well, I can navigate through here because I can remember the scenes as we followed them. So I needed to go through behind the scenes and remember what scene I came to, where and when. Oh my. Some of these things behind the scenes had spare parts to the wax figures. So you would run into an arm, a hand, a foot, a head. The head was my favorite one. I mean, coming into that. The weird part is the further that I went on, there were chains with these wax figures hanging from the chains. I'm telling you, it's a wonder I didn't come out of that joint in a straitjacket. I was bothered by this. And I kept thinking, surely to God, I mean, how can you get lost in a place like this? Surely to God, there is an exit. Because you know how sometimes behind the scenes, like when you go into the back rooms and warehouses, you see an exit sign with the door. There wasn't one. So then I start thinking, what if there was an emergency? And so I start thinking, that's my mind. The 3 a.m., did Jesus ever eat a grilled cheese sandwich type thing? So I'm really getting deep down and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if there were a fire? What if there was an emergency? Where would people go? There are no exits. There's no signs. There's no, because most wax museums I've been in, you'll come up to different scenes and then they'll have a little sign that says exit with a little arrow, nothing, not one thing. The hanging wax figures. And I'm thinking, oh, heck. Could these, and then my mind, could these wax figures be real people that get lost in here? You start going down that, did Jesus eat a grilled cheese sandwich type, oh my heck. So I'm sitting there I'm sitting now at this point because I'm exhausted from anxiety and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so horrible. All of a sudden, the lights came on. And I'm telling you, I had been in the dark so long. It had to be like an hour and 45 minutes, maybe even 2 hours, maybe. Gramir, I know you get it, don't you? And these big overhead floodlights come on. I thought I was going blind because you can imagine I was in the dark and then all of a sudden it was like click. And talk about looking like it's in a different perspective. Totally different. Still sus, but totally different. So I'm just standing there thinking, okay, what's happening? Who's, because at this point I'm expecting big men with masks. And I'm kind of hiding back in the, stepping back behind some things. Then all of a sudden I hear Herbie, Zelda, where the H did you go? Zelda. And I'm hearing him angry. You effing people, blah, 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 blah. And I start laughing because, anytime anybody starts that, I don't know what it is. If you take me anywhere and if there's an argument or anything, when there's this big exchange of these words, I laugh. I don't know what it is. It's just weird. I know, but I'm laughing. So they hear me laughing. And he comes up and finds me and I'm like, where were you? And he said, this is the most weird place. I said, where is everyone? And he said, they're outside. We're frantic. We've got the police out there. They're looking at all the exits. I'm like, really, sir? What exits? I could not find. I've been all over tracking like a bloody cat in this place trying to find. And I said, this is scary, coming through here and then seeing myself in that window, because it was like a full body. And obviously they were recording people, which is not cool. Pardon me. Very uncool. And the fact, first of all, hello. There's a lot more beautiful, provocative women out there than, hello, me, all black, summer, winter, spring, fall. You would think that I would be the last one that they would be recording. That's what, I'm always never dressed, And I'm thinking, holy moly. So we finally make it outside. And there's all these people, the Canadian police. And I'm like, what are you standing out here for? Why didn't you come in and get me? You're standing out here. And Herbie and another couple of people came in to get me. You're standing outside waiting for me to surface. Were you thinking that I was in there stealing something? Or maybe singing in the rain or something? What? I was so angry. I was yelling. Yes, it was the RCMP, that's for sure. Standing there like, duh. I was so mad. And so, I wouldn't let this go. Everybody that was coming up, I said, don't go in there. I've been stuck in there for 2 hours. If you want to be stuck in there, don't go in there. I was like a wild. I would have been, it's a good thing they didn't have social media back then, because you would see me on record outside of this wax museum going, don't you go in there. Being that Karen, being that person, don't you go in there. I was lost in there and they never came out and got me, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, look, there's some dude in there dressed up like a pirate that had a sword that looked at me and came at me. Now, that's all I needed to say, because then the Canadian police, the RCMP, decided that I was kind of a whack job. And I said, look, if you're recording everybody else and you can see me out this window, surely to God, you can see this. And I will take you right there where that guy is. And I was so mean. I was mean. So finally, they turned on all the lights. We went through and we went to that scene with the pirates. And guess what? There was no pirate with a sword. And I said, oh, yes, there was. And to me, that was somebody playing around and didn't want to get in trouble with it because they knew that I was lost, and they knew that that would be a liability on them. Think about this. What if I would have cut and run and would have gotten What if I could have gotten hurt? What if I would have fell? What if I would have needed medical attention? Because there were nothing but those big cables that you had to walk over and, all kinds of different things. What if? And of course, wait a minute, hello. Did Jesus eat a grilled cheese sandwich? Was it a donkey or was it an ass that Jesus rode in on? Just needing to know. I know it had to be somebody from there pranking. And because you know how mean and ugly people can get when they think that somebody is scared. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared. I was bothered. I was concerned. I don't have a big fight or flight. I don't have that, somebody breathes in my, because I've taught myself, even through investigations, and you'll see this when I get my channel, my streaming service. Hello, yes, wait, hello. I am just so full, aren't I? Anyway, it wasn't Herbie. Herbie was outside petitioning for me, calling the police, pushing people to come in here and making the biggest, huge scene, my other friends. And I'm going to tell you something. You've never lived until you've seen a bunch of German people that speak broken English, because when I was with them, my German was clave clos bulia, which means about as clear as beef broth. And so it wasn't hard for us to communicate. We had a fantastic time. And, it was always eating with this group of Germans, which I loved. It was always, let's go get a coffee and cake. Okay, I'm in. But I want you to know, Guten Gott im Himmel is what it was, right, Mitchell? Guten Gott im Himmel. That means good God in heaven. And I'm telling you, that to me was the funniest thing. Seeing these Germans upset, trying to speak. That's probably why they didn't go in. They probably didn't understand, because there were people running this that were of a certain particular belief. I'm going to say that way. So there was definitely a mismatch of energies on there. And then there's this American that is up there having a good time. But that bothered me, and we never did find out what that was all about. Never did. We wrote letters. We had people writing letters. It was about 6 months later they shut down and went to wherever else that they decided to open one of these up again. So the next time I see a sus museum, I won't go. Now here's another museum story, and I'll tell you that really quickly. So now here is another story, another wax museum story. Good old Herbie. He was a good guy. Herbie. We used to call him, after Disney, remember Herbie the love bug? He was about, let's see, how old was I when this happened? I was about 30. Oh my heck. How many years ago was that? I was about 30, and he was 51 or 52 at that time. So, he was taking life pretty seriously. Very smart, very intelligent. So that's right, Maeve, tomato soup with grilled cheese. I love that. I'd have tomato soup if I had any tomato soup, and I'd have grilled cheese if I had any grilled cheese and bread, but I don't buy that stuff because I'll eat it. Okay, here's the next story. Wax Museum, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I love you too, Gremir. Gatlinburg, Tennessee. This was back in the day too. I had this thing where I just could not get enough of these museum type things. So it was always Ripley's Believe It or Not, and all these other, but in Gatlinburg, they had not only the Ripley's Believe It or Not, but they had these scary museums too. Like, you do these little things, whatever. So my sister and I decided that we were going to go through a couple of them. And I think I told you the story about the one a few weeks ago. But this one, I didn't tell you. So you go in, and it's in this little, because Gatlinburg, there's really not anywhere to build out. So you got to build up. So they try to put businesses on top of businesses and, whatever. So there's this little doorway that leads up this, and it's, it's advertised. It's, there. So anyway, yeah, listen, dolls, museum figures, hello, no, thank you anymore. So we go up these steps. My sister was ahead of me. So they basically tell us when we go in there, now they say, now, we're not going to take your names. We don't want to know your name. Okay, I wasn't going to give it to you anyway. Thanks. It's not like we're going to date. Hello. So we go up these steps, and we're sitting in this room. In fact, let me show. Bad girl Zelda was not prepared. Just a minute. As my son used to say when he was little, I was not repaired. So I'm not prepared for this, but here we go. Next scene, please. Maybe. Why aren't you going? Oh, it is going. Hello. I'm so sus about things. Let me do it at the right place, Zelda. What are we thinking? What are we thinking, girl? Let me put it in the right place and you'll see it. Is it going to change for us? Yes, it will. There we are. There you go, my darlings. This is the next scene. And this is what it looks like. You see this? Little chair up front and scattered chairs. This right here, my darlings, is my pencil work. I was not able to get it looking better than it should, like these other scenes. So forgive me for the roughness. See, that's what it looks like on the other side too. So it had a desk and it had this overhead creepy light, things on the wall, and you just go in there and you sit. You pick a couple of chairs. Well, my sister and I wanted to sit together. I know, an anomaly, once in a while, whatever. And we wanted to sit close to each other. We tried to move our chairs and you couldn't. The chairs were bolted to the floor. Okay. So, of course, I'm sitting in the one. She's sitting in the other. There were more chairs than this, but I didn't want to fill up the whole room because I wanted to show this. Hello there. Welcome, and come on in, my darlings. Welcome, welcome. We're just telling little spooky stories. And if you've been here for the first time, Thank you for coming in. Much love to you. This is kind of this help I'm haunted. We're having scary stories and we're just doing a lot of fun things. So, yeah, oh no, on the bolted chairs is right. So we're sitting here. This guy comes out here in a cloak and sits here in this chair. He's just sitting there, feet flat on the floor, both hands on each knee, and just sitting there looking like this, turn his head. Now he's got this dark black cloak over him. I'm not bothered. I'm in black too. So I'm thinking, okay, I fit in. But he's got this hood that comes up. And you can't really see his face except for here and here. Clean shaven, but you could tell it was a man. He's sitting there and he's looking, and you start hearing these weird sounds. And of course, they're piping them in, and it's all to get you scary and, blah, blah. So I'm taking in the whole room. I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen now? And nothing. You're sitting there, and then all of a sudden these players come out on this little platform, and they start putting on this little play-like thing. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those things. Okay. So during this whole thing, this cloaked fellow gets up and he does this. He doesn't point to me, he points to my sister. There was a part of me that just went, yeah, but. And she was mortified because she was sitting there thinking, what is it? What is this? And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm watching these. And I mean, we're sitting there now because you can see our faces are like sus. He does this to her. And she's like, no, that's okay. No. And he gets a little, he kind of moves a little forward and he goes, well, by this time, she's getting scared because you just don't, this was weird. So the next thing you know, she's sitting there and going, no. Now, he gets up. Now, I'm sitting here. She is sitting here. He gets up from here and walks down off this platform, and he's standing close to me, and he's going, and evidently he didn't know that she and I were together. He gets close to me, and he's standing there, and and you can see his little face right here. And he looks at her, and he takes his little hood back, and you can see his little face, and he goes, you come here. And she's like, no. So she comes up here and tries to sit on this chair with me. Well, hello. There's not that much room on these little spindly chairs. And he looks at her. Now, listen, this is all for the aesthetic of scaring somebody. I can't even tell you that I'm about to say what I've said, but okay, I will. Because if pushed, I'm sitting here on this side, she's sitting on the other side. All of a sudden, these bookshelves start moving, like moving away. This one moves back. This one over here moves back. Things start rattling, and there are some more men coming out. These people over here were scared to death. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I can probably take 2 of those guys, going through my brain like I'm Mr., Miss Big Stuff. She's crying and I can feel her. She's like shaking at this point. She was so scared. Well, this was a pretty big guy. So he's standing there and he goes, "Get up here now, or I will take you up there." She couldn't even talk at this point. She was like this. And he went to grab her, and I grabbed his wrist and I said, "Look, pal, I'm going to tell you something. You need to stand down a little bit because I used to date Chuck Norris. What do you think's going to happen?" There was a man sitting over here who was busting it, and I was very serious. And this man looked at me and he goes, "Well, you think you're so tough, you're going to come along." And I said, "Oh, no, I don't think so, pal." And then, it was like this standoff. What is this about? My sister's sitting there, shaking like a dog pooping razor blades, right? She's like, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh boy, I made a mess of this. So I stand up. Now I'm going to tell you, my darlings, I'm no little frail chick. I'm 5'10", and I'm kind of built like an old Hollywood model. Okay. Jane, what's her name? So she gets up. My sister gets up and she's shaking. And I said, "Come on, we're going." He looks at one of these guys. He says, lock the door. They're not going anywhere. And I said, "Listen, pal, I'm going to tell you. Once I'm going to take you out," because at this point I was scared. And I was like, at this point, when I'm done taking you out, I'm going to start taking your buddies out. Do you understand what I mean? You're out of shape. I will kick your... Now, I don't talk like that. But this, scared me. Not Jane Mansfield. Who was the one who used to do the brassiere commercials? Who was in Diamonds, Our Girl's Best Friend with Marilyn Monroe? Who was that? I can't think of her name. Jane Russell. Hello. So now you've got this big girl. And I said, "Don't even come near me. Don't even come near her. This is not a spooky. This is an intimidation. And we are leaving. And if you try to stop me, I will trash this place, you and everything around it. You watch. I'm going to walk right out of here, and I will be calling the police the moment I hit the sidewalk down the steps." And I looked at these two, must have been a husband and wife or something. They were together. And I said, "Are you coming? We're leaving." My sister, I pushed her out. Now remember, we did not talk about anybody's names. We didn't show our identifications. We didn't show anything. We're getting up and we're walking. Now the exit is, as you're looking at this, the exit, you would have to go not back there, this way. That's how the exit would be. So it would be like I'm facing the exit. So we all get up and we're going to the exit. I make my sister go first. That other lady with this man, I'm going to tell you, I was scared to death because I thought, I've got a big cake hole, but what if I have to do something, right? That's another thing. But it was so overwhelming to see her shaking and so upset like that, right? So we get to the top of the steps, and that man, the other lady, she turns around, she goes, "Jeff, I'm scared. Go down to..." So he goes around me, and I'm the one last. Thanks a lot. We get to the top of the stairs, and I hear This is what I hear. See you around, Zelda. I don't know how that happened. I don't know who these people were. That was the first time we were ever there. It was the last time. We went down to the police department. We made a police report. I knew people in the where you got your business licenses in the Chamber of Commerce. I went there the next day and said, look, you gotta go down. This place is a fire hot. I just did it. Hello. I went all out. I was a real Karen in a bad way. I did not know these people. Didn't know because, I'm not that social. And being in downtown Gatlinburg, there absolutely was no way. And when I hear this voice, see you around, Zelda. And of course, me with my big attitude and pie hole, I turned around and I said, maybe you will. Just maybe you will. And that look on that guy's face, I don't know how he knew. There was no internet then. There was no way. I was not working for Psychic Friends Network at that time. There was no way. There was no way, nothing. When we got down to the steps, I mean, I thought I was going to have to take my sister to it just like freaked her out so bad. And with all of this stuff moving and this guy, it was supposed to be, there was this time where they would have these, not like a panic room, but it was kind of like this, the intimidation rooms is what and we just thought we were going to get haunted and see some ghosts and an old bag of bones rolling around and maybe a couple of Frankensteins, and somebody would come over and I'd be lucky enough to get bit on the neck. That's kind of stuff. We just thought it was, oh no. It was very much intimidation. We got down to the street level and this couple, they're like, we're going to go for a drink. Do you guys want to come along? And I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. And I said, well, I wouldn't mind a cup of coffee. You know me. Hello, let's go somewhere where we can get a snack and cup of coffee. And my sister was like, I can't go anywhere. I had to take her to the restroom down by the convention center in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. They have these really nice bathrooms. And pardon me. Oh, somebody just sent me a Venmo. Thank you so much for your generosity. Don't forget you're a grifting psychic up here now. So, oh yeah, I remember Frankenstein by Edgar Winter. Oh my gosh, what a great song. So anyway, she wanted to go to the restroom. That girl, I had to walk out of the restroom and just let her have her moment because she was, it was very frightening for her. It was scary. It was scary for me too, but it was all this adrenaline popped up and I'm thinking, hello, if we have to fight everybody was kung fu fighting. No, that cat was fast as lightning, right? So I thought, but after we got out of there and after I thought about it, and we did later on go out to eat at a really nice place on the strip called Calhoun's in Gatlinburg, my favorite place to go. The Peddler, the Calhoun's, and the Park Grill. Always beautiful places to go in Gatlinburg. So we went to Calhoun's. We sat in the bar area. We sat near the window so we could see people walking back and forth. And wouldn't you know it, the guy that was from this place who had the hood was walking down the street. He didn't have his cloak on, didn't have his, and I thought, well, this guy is a peanut. I could have taken him, you know? And it just made me mad, thinking that he was going to try to intimidate two women. And, but I guess it could have been our fault because we just really didn't know what we were getting into or anything. But I would certainly like to know. He must have gotten off work because we were sitting there. And my sister looked and she said, "Oh my God, isn't that the guy?" And I'm like, "It is the guy. Should I go out and kick him in the knee?" Big stuff, Zelda. Don't worry, I'm all talk. So, but when it's family, when you love somebody, when you care, it's like I was in protective mode when you're seeing, because my sister and I looked like we were from two different litters, right? Completely different, don't look the same, shorter, built differently. So when you see someone like that, just having this horrible reaction, so frightening, so frightened. So then the next day we went into another museum. Glutton for punishment. We went into another museum. They had another one. It was like a Hollywood wax museum. We'll take a break now. Welcome, welcome, welcome to each and every one of you. Hello, my darlings. Welcome. Where Debbie says I would have kicked him in the knee and somewhere else. Well, there's an old saying. Wah, wah, wee, kick him in the knee. Wah, wah, wass, kick him in the other knee. That's usually my thing. No, he didn't see us. He didn't see us. He was walking outside of the restaurant. He did not see us. So that was his gig. Wait, there's a program that just came up. There we go. So I don't know. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Coming in. You're not late. You're just in time. Why don't I put the chat up here on the screen? Because I know that each and every one of you love to see what everybody's saying. And there are some of you watching on TV, iPad. And while you're watching, please do us a favor. Hit the like button. Because you know what? I got to brag on this again. Your girl is up to 12,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. And you know what that is? It's because of all of you. And I want to thank you so much for each and every bit. Yeah, don't forget, look up. That's right. You got to look up. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. Give me a second. Okay, there you go. I keep hearing these. See, I got my earpiece on so I can hear what's going on. That was a fast. Well, listen, I was hanging at the 11,000 mark for a long time. And then all of a sudden, skippity-doo-dah. Okay, before I get into this next story, let's go through your chats and all of this good stuff because I certainly don't want to forget you. Story time. All right, so we went to it was new at the time. We went to this other, I think it was 2 days later because she was so kind of shaken up. So we shopped and ate and did whatever, but we decided, and you can't go through these things in the daytime. You have to go through at night because it was one of those things, right? You just have to go through at night. So we went into this Hollywood wax museum. The problem is we waited too late. So we were told we got a half price ticket and we told that we needed to put, get us in gear. We had to get in gear and get going. Pardon me, something just came in. And, oh, thank you, my darling. Sharon, bless you, my darling. Sent a Venmo. You. I might be able to have some Waffle House delivered with that. Anybody here like Waffle House? I do. I could sit in Waffle House and watch them make cheese and eggs with raisin toast and apple. Oh, it's not applesauce. What the heck is it? Apple butter. Hello, I've made it enough in my life. Okay. Thank you, my darling Sharon. Thank you, my darling. That's so kind of you. Thank you, thank you. So we decided to go in this joint. They gave us half price. And see, you see this? I see you on my screen, and now I get distracted because I love being here with you and I love talking. So I'm not, I just love to be here. So anyway, okay. Went through this haunted house. They gave us half price tickets. We put a gear in it. A gear meaning we hurried up. So we hurried up. We went through. And lo and behold, we got to talking. Now this was a place a lot cleaner and a lot brighter and very, very nice. And it was professionally done. It was nice. So we're walking through and we're thinking, oh, this and this. Sam, no, come over here. Oh, Sammy, knocking my lamp down, thinking, no, Mama. Come over here, sister. Sis. Come on. Be a big girl. Be a big girl. All right. I'm glad you made it back. I missed you. We're walking through. We're having, conversations, and we lost track of time. So we're now the only ones in there. Why does that always happen? We're the only ones in there. And she looks at me and she says, if you look at these wax figures, does it look to you like they're moving? Well, that's all anybody needs to say to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not looking at them. So then I start looking at them. And I swear, this one blinked. And she saw it too. Now, sometimes I think they put this stuff in these mechanical, I think they do that. So we're walking through, and I'm going to tell you something. We started hearing whistling, and there was no one else in there. Just a little whistle. Now, for me, being the grifting psychic that I am, and there have been, and time out, I will tell you, during some of my video readings, there will be, and my son cannot whistle. There will be a whistle. Okay, Kendra. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm trying to chat a screenshot from your video of you claiming Charlie Kirk came to you and how it bothers you, how he was taken out. I 100% agree. It did bother me. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'll go into more detail. And then Tuesday night, I will tell you. There you go. Okay. So anyway, see, hello, Zelda, stop. So now we're in this. Now we think we're seeing these moving. Now there are some times when I do readings here, you will hear a whistle in a video reading. And one time I did a video reading And the woman who I was doing it for immediately writes to me and says, "That's my husband. I recognize the whistle that he did. That is my husband." A whistle is a huge indication that there is energy activity, energy activity. Wax museum. Now, we went back to the wax museum, and when we were already there, we didn't go back. Hello, I got distracted. We were in the wax museum, and we hear this whistle. Now, it was a faint whistle. It was not, like the song from Mayberry RFD, right? It was just a faint, like, just a, with me, I do the thing. So, as we go now through here, my sister looks at me and she said, "Did you just hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, I thought it was just me." Now, my sister does none of this. She has none of this. I don't know what happened. It just passed over her. She has nothing. And I said, "Well, the fact that you've heard that, maybe that there's somebody else in here." So what do? We decide to double back. You would think that I would learn. So we're walking backward through the wax museum. We didn't see anybody. There was nobody. And then there's a little announcement coming on. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Hollywood Wax Museum, located in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, will be closing in 10 minutes. Please make your way to the exit. Thank you." So we go through, okay? We go through, and now we're hearing it again. And I told her, I said, "I'm starting to get on nerve. Let's just go." We get close to where we knew we were going to be going. Well, I mean, we could see it in a distance, so we could see the exit door. And she stopped. She said, "Look at this one. It just looks so real." And just then, the arm moved, the shoulder, just this. My sister grabs onto me, and I had this really cute, it was black, it was like a crocheted sweater, like really loose crochet over a black tanky top type thing. It was in the fall, but it was a beautiful day, so it was enough. My sister grabs me by the shoulder, and that crochet sweater, I was so mad because it just flew into nothing, right? She just pushed it completely out of the, and I was so mad at her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta be running. She's like, I have to be running. I can't stand this." Just then, we hear the whistle again. I turn around, and there was another wax figure that was standing in a different position, I swear. And my sister saw it. She grabs me and starts to scream. Running. I mean, flat out running. My sister is not a runner. She was never athletic. She was that night. And I hadn't moved like that since 1978. We get up to the door, and the door was locked. We couldn't open it. You push on that little thing in the middle, where it goes click, click. Nothing. It wouldn't open. We are in there pounding on the door. "Let us out, let us out." My sister is frantic. I'm turning around looking to see if anything is coming our way. Museum, wax, human, whatever. We get there, and finally somebody opens the door, and they're looking at us like, there's two daft women coming out of this wax museum. What's going on? We came bolting out of there. And my sister looks at me and she goes, how dare you want to come back in? This was not my idea. But how dare you want to go in there, Zelda? So we come out there, we come around the front of the museum. I said, look, I've got to talk to this guy. We go around to the front of the museum, and no, nobody grab me. I don't like people touch us. No kidding. I am not a hugger. I don't like that. I don't like to be touched. I was like that when I was a baby. I was born that way. Let me cry on my own. I'll go in another room. Don't touch, nothing. It's bad. For some people, I'm not into that type of thing. So anyway, I go around to the front and I said, look, I got to ask this guy. So I asked the guy, I said, listen, is there somebody whistling in there? And his face went as white as this towel. He said, you heard whistling? I said, yes, sir. And I said, not only that, and I said, you're going to think that I'm really weird, but we saw this shoulder on this one wax guy. He just looking at me. He said, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And I said, well, I got one more thing to tell you. There was another wax guy that looked like it was moved. So was there somebody else in there playing? And he was just white. He couldn't even hardly talk to us. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, you're not the only person who's seen this. I said, so what's going on here? And he said, well, you know that this was a battleground. I know all the stories about Gatlinburg and how, back in the day, it was a very rough and tumble, and a lot of people, Wild West type things. They're getting, pew-pewed and all this other stuff. And I said, what's the deal? And he said, we don't know. He said, we're about ready to shut down. I said, is it that bad? And he said, it can be. And he said, especially when there's not that many people that come through. And he said, we've got cameras in there. And I said, can we see the camera? And he said, I'll tell you what, come back tomorrow and we'll both look at the camera. And I said, how about this? I'll come, what are your hours? And he told me, and I said, how about this? I'll bring you a little bit of lunch. And if you let me sit and look at the cameras, just when we're there, I don't want to look at anybody else. I'm not going to impose, but just when we were there, I want to look at the cameras. And he said, you got it. He told me where he wanted lunch from. I told him, that's fine, put in the order. I picked him up lunch. The next day we went. My sister couldn't stand it. So that's cool. But I was sitting there watching. We were sitting there watching. Now this is a worker, the manager of the Wax Museum, sitting there watching. And you know what we see? Orbs flying all over. And at one point we were walking through, and they had these big dark black curtains that was hanging, and what they were, they were just there to hide the poles to hold the building up, and structural things. So they hung these dark black curtains. We'd see a curtain move, and he was just sitting there like. And I said, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to go back in. We wouldn't let me go back in. And he said, There's so much stuff like this that happens there. We get people that tell us this stuff all the time. People can't stand it. And I said, well, okay, then it is what it is. But I waited until the very end. The moment that we heard the whistle, you could see a slight movement of that wax figure. And I said, see, if I'm lying, I'm dying. There it is. He said, okay, this is it now. And I said, what about that other wax figure? He said, no, that's all right, ma'am. He said, thanks for lunch. I'm going to get in trouble if I'm showing you this. Well, I know what it was. It scared him because at night he was the one that had to walk through and make sure that no one was there. Nobody dumped any cups or put any trash in there or anything else like that. That was it. Literally, that was it. And then there was another spook house. I always called them a spook house because, you know, back in the day, they were spooky. So they were spook houses, ghosts. I'd go the line. I told my sister, I said, no more wax museums, no more intimidation rooms. Sorry, everyone. Sammy sheds just enough so it bothers me. And that was it. That's the scary wax museums. My darlings, I've been places. Scary places. And you know, we don't know. Some of these things, just like the zombie in the graveyard, I just don't know.